And welcome back. It has just gone 10 o'clock. And you are tuned in to the Morning Breeze with me, Elle, and the incredible Malik. I'm very excited to be here with you this morning because, as promised, we are joined on the line by a very, very, very special guest today. Before the music break, I was telling you a bit more about him. Gregory Maqoma is with us on the line. He is a world-renowned choreographer, dancer, and storyteller, and he spent decades exploring movement, memory, and liberation through his art. From the solo masterpiece Exit Exists that we were just telling you about, to the upcoming dance opera Genesis, which will be opening at the Baxter Theatre next week. We are big, big, big fans of his work, as you can hear, and very excited to have him with us today. So, Greg, good morning and welcome to the show.
Good morning, and so wonderful to be starting the day with you.
Oh my goodness. It's such a joy for us and such an honor. Thank you so much for making the time. I know you're very busy with rehearsals. So yeah, we just love that you've agreed to be with us today.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm very excited as we are also getting ready for the rehearsals of Genesis.
Absolutely. And so as we've said, Genesis is opening at the Baxter Theatre. On the 18th. It's going to be running from the 18th to the 21st. It is the world premiere. Am I right?
It is the world premiere. We had a soft premiere in Germany last year, August, but it was really testing ground. And I mean, I always try to premiere the works in South Africa because it is first and foremost the work is created for our audiences.
Yes.
And I want it to be tested here at home. And I always say, if it goes well here at home, then the world is an oyster.
Oh, I love that. I love that because sometimes, you know, people have the opposite orientation, right? Where they think, oh, if it goes well overseas, then that means it's valid. But you look at it in
Sure.
you know, you're like, no, if it resonates at home, then that means, you know, it can take over the world.
Absolutely. I mean, I think validation can really make sense if it starts from home. And that's how I always work.
Absolutely. We were just saying how, you know, we're so excited to be able to talk to you about your process and like what you're talking about now, how you work, how you come up with things, you know, how you do the things that you do, because you tackle very rich, layered, you know, often complex themes, and you're able to communicate these things through the medium of dance, right? With using the body as the instrument for all of it. And, you know, of course, there's the music that comes together. It's just so magnificent and sometimes very difficult to put into words. But I am very curious to hear from you. How does it all begin? You know, how do you... Because we see the finished product, but of course at some stage it's a seed, you know, that germinates in your mind or in the body, you know, or somewhere. How does your creative process go from, you know, from concept to execution?
Yeah. I mean, the work usually begins with a question that the body cannot yet answer. And that's the reason we find ourselves in the theater with other bodies colliding for us to try and move until the question becomes physical.
Wow.
It's only then does the language begin to form around it. You know, I start with the body. I want the body and I treat it as an architecture of histories, of memories. And it is that sensation that refuses to circle that allows this spine, the entire body, to find that to have a thirst to relieve that is heavy in the chest. Wow. And besides looking at the intellect, because the intellect has to arrive later.
Yes.
But it starts with the body because, I mean, of course, I'm a dancer.
Yeah.
It naturally starts there. So yeah, when creating, I really listen to that intuition that unsettling nature that is in the heartbeat that makes me want to stand up and go into a studio and to start making. It is the unsettling nature of the world that we live in, the leaders that the leadership style of our leaders today. Everybody is literally just going against humanity, and this is where we get unsettled. We then find ourselves in that precarious space where we've got to do something. We've got to stand up and do something.
Absolutely. Yeah, I remember that feeling actually at the end of Exit Exist. It is you walk out with that sense of like, hey, but what am I doing? You know what I mean? Like, now that I've felt all this, it's like a call to action. But you're right, it's 100% through the body, because you're not saying, hey, what are you doing? You know what I mean? You're taking us on this journey where like we're sitting with it, and it's like, man, this, it awakens something in you. It's very interesting what you're saying about how, it begins with the body and then the intellect catches up later, because these days, the latest research in neuroscience and so forth is confirming that, that
absolutely,
our experience of the world usually starts with a physical sensation, and if we know how to interpret that and how to read it, then we can make sense of it, and it's only afterwards that the mind will find language, verbal language for it. But I've heard you talk about the vocabulary of movement, and how the experience of colonialism, and I suppose one could extrapolate it to experiences of trauma or, various forms of oppression, restrict your restrict the body's vocabulary of movement, or redefine it. What do you mean by that? How does that really play itself out in your view?
Sure. I mean, part of my choreographic practice is about undoing these unconscious, choreographies, things that we've learned in the past, that dance can only be valid or can only be practiced through a certain way of moving, or a certain physicality, or even the body in itself has to have create a particular form in order for it to be validated as a form that can move people, move the world. But we have to decolonize that. We have to decolonize movement, and by doing that, we also restoring dignity to the dancer, to the body. That dance is a physical form, but also a form that encompasses our different ways in which our bodies are made up. Particularly in the African context, everyone, we have to say that everyone can dance until they have to.
It's true.
But dance is embedded in us, and therefore, the vocabulary of that movement is undoing that colonial imprint that we grow up with, particularly in ballet. That you have to look a certain way, you have to move a certain way, you've got to behave a certain way, and my practice has always been undoing all of that.
Yeah, it's very because I think it extends even beyond the language of dance. Even those of us who are not dancers, life is an embodied experience, right? And you learn ways of holding your body, ways of is it acceptable to walk like this, or you know what I'm saying? There are so many things that become ingrained in us because we're trying to, I guess, make it through the world, which is not always the softest process. You understand? I mean, I call it a fracture of the psyche, because we've made to believe that the body has to hold certain things in a particular way. And that's a colonial system. It trained us to be civilians and to ourselves. Correct.
And we forget really to be the gate keep us off our minds because we have so much entrailed in terms of how we look, how we've been told that we should be looking this particular way, we should behave in this particular way, and that takes away then really the realities of humanity.
Absolutely, and it strips away a form of freedom that I think we should all just be entitled to, right? Which is the freedom of joyful embodiment. It should just be a basic human right, but it isn't always,
It isn't always. It isn't, and it starts with us.
It does. So let's talk about the upcoming show, Genesis. You've described it as a dance opera, which is very, very exciting to me. I am a maximalist by nature, so I love I don't know. So, so a dance opera just sounds like such a rich experience. What is it? What can we expect?
Well, I mean, it is immersive. We call it a dance opera it's intentional, because it's layered with voice, with poetry, with music, and it brings movement into something more communal than just focusing on one form to tell the story. It does explore the violence and the grace, and how time destroys and invites renewal simultaneously, and we can't do it with just dance. So it's the dance that informs the music. It's the music that informs the poetry. It's all in one, and it's liberating because then the body is the first sight of that liberation. The voice becomes the first sight of that liberation. The text that we saying, and actually even the architecture on stage in terms of design in the costume, design in the set itself, all speak to the same level of consciousness of a communal space that allows us to move in and out and to shift histories in a way that we can be bold enough to say, perhaps we need to start again.
Wow. Time as an invitation to renewal. That's very... I don't know, there's so much hope and promise, that's like embedded in that. It just, even before having experienced it, it feels good. It's this idea that regardless of the things that happen, and things do happen, we're seeing many incredibly dire things happening right now all around us,
I tell you.
Yeah, but it is that thing of, like, as you said, time as an invitation to renewal. I think that is, I'm looking forward to, I'm looking forward to being in the theater and being invited to feel, everything that entails.
Absolutely. Thank you. I mean, you're talking about time because it's a central theme in Genesis, and not as a linear form of going through time. It is cyclical. It is but also bruising. I mean, the violence of the time we live in, a rapturous movement, and really we see also how we need to fight for grace, how we need to beg for mercy. It is such times that are calling for us to recall, the revolutionary ideas of Biko, of Fanon, of Amos Cesar, in order for us to care about the past, but also to interrogate the present and to foretell a better future, or to lay upon us a better future.
And all three of those, the what do I even call them? They're more than thinkers. They're philosophers. They're, that you mentioned, Cesar, Fanon, and Biko.
The decolonizers.
Exactly. And, they all were so relentless around this idea of like liberation beginning from within, all, each with a slightly different angle to it, but it is this notion of you've got to free yourself from the inside, before, and then it moves outward from there. So again, just very interesting to see. I'm just so excited to see how this once again reveals itself, through the use, as we say, of the body as the medium, for communicating this process, of this process of liberation, right, and hope and renewal, and all of those things. We were talking before you came on the show about loving one's body, and acting, and acting in the best interest of your physical self, right? Obviously, for you, when we talk about that, the stakes are exceptionally high because, as we know, your body is your instrument. It's the thing that you use to, or the medium that you use, to communicate your art, to convey, and so forth. So I'm interested to hear from you. What are some of the things that you do to make sure that you are, taking care of your body, honoring the need for rest, or, how do you approach that? What does that even look like? Or nervous system regulation and so forth?
Yeah, I mean, firstly, I had to take a break from performing after I've been on stages for over 35 years, and that was one of those reasons was to give body rest because it needed it, but also to expand the mind in terms of the other projects that I wanted to get myself in. But we train endurance through repetition and breath work, and that's what I do with my company. But we also talk a lot about the physical training of the mind. That physical extremity without purpose become just a spectacle. So we train the mind to find reason why we're doing something, why we're moving in a particular way. Because if we do that, then we tie every single movement into meaning, which then lessens the burden of just putting in a lot of energy into a movement that does not require that much of an energy. So you train the body to understand that, you train the mind to channel that restrainment in its thinking so that it can choose when to exude utmost energy and when to be just poetic.
Wow. So when to conserve, my goodness, there's so much calibration happening in real time. You know what I'm saying? In the moment. Because as I'm thinking about what we see as the audience, it's incredible to try and, grasp all of what is going on in the minds and, in the just like the entire system of the artists on stage who are needing to, convey all of this. And as you say, make these constant calculations. Okay, here's where I'll conserve energy. Here's where I'm going to give more. Here's where I'm going to. It's mind blowing. It's genius, actually.
Well, I think, that's the teaching today that we need to be giving to all practitioners. And something that I think institutions, higher learning institutions, they still not getting. That we need to train dancers and singers and actors to find maturity in their abilities to hold even silence, to trust stillness, to explode when necessary. That is not everything has to be showmanship.
Yeah. It's interesting.
And that's how we create geniuses.
Yes, absolutely. And it's also even what happens to the audience because, there's a way that during your shows, you're also training the audience for that same thing, to hold, there'll be a moment of discomfort, right, for the viewer. And that moment is sometimes sustained, so it's like, yes, audience, learn how to feel, this thing that isn't necessarily easy to feel, right? But we're going to sit there for a little while and then we're going to move past it, and so forth.
Absolutely. I mean, I always say, we as performers on stage, the very first thing that we need to do is to remove the fourth wall. the veil.
Yeah.
So we really in the heart of an audience.
Absolutely.
Because once we achieve that, then we travel together. There's no us and them. It's us making the work.
100%.
Their response is part of the creation. Yes.
Yes. And that is why you get the 10-minute standing ovations, when we all get up. And it's the most natural thing to just at the end jump out the seat and want to continue participating, in this. And that is why, the crowd will get on their feet and sing back to you. And it's such a spiritual experience. It's a transcendent experience, for everybody who thinks that I'm just over here glazing or overselling or anything of that nature. Let me assure you, I am not. I am, in fact, underselling. I am underselling what you experience.
Well, we appreciate it. We appreciate it very much. I must say, yeah. It's still that standing ovation with Exit Exist.
Yes.
It still gives me goosebumps.
Me too.
When I think about it.
We watched the footage yesterday, and same thing. The goose, it's just out of this world. Yeah.
Yes. No, we appreciate it very much.
Thank you so much, Greg. We appreciate you. We're very, very conscious of your time constraints. I did say 20 minutes, which means that we're now, right at that time where we need to say goodbye. Thank you so much for being with us on the show today. Thank you for being so generous with your art.
Thank you.
It's such a gift to everybody who gets to experience it live, which is really, that's the way to experience it. I always say to people, I feel bad for those who never got to see Exit Exist, which obviously is not, to my knowledge, going to be performed again. So that was
maybe in 10 years' time.
Oh wow!
Maybe in 10 years' time. You just never know. But I have to say, shout out to the Baxter Theatre.
Yes.
Because it's not always that you find a theatre that will back an artist fully, and we've had an incredible support from the Baxter, who have commissioned this work. Usually, it is the international theaters that do that.
Yeah.
But to have Baxter Theatre leading the commission, it is really heartwarming and inspiring. So thanks to Baxter. And the audiences come see it. Come see it.
Oh, definitely. Guys, do not miss it. It's only running from the 18th to the 21st. It opens on the 18th. We will be there, Greg, of course. We will be there in the flesh to see the show. And then I believe it runs in the evenings at 7:30. And then there's an additional matinee performance on the Saturday. So
that is correct.
Yes. So please do not hesitate. Go ahead and book your tickets at the Baxter Theatre. You can visit their website. It's easy to find. You also can book on web tickets. Just don't miss it. I can guarantee you it's just going to be magnificent, as it always is.